Welcome back to redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd. I'm your host Mikey, and in today's tutorial we're going to do a heart together. This pattern is free. There's a link in the more information. This heart is part of another pattern which I am going to show you, and this is really quite simple. You'll be so shocked on how simple it is to make one of these fabulous little hearts. Today's yarn I'm using is the Red Heart Soft Baby Steps. I am exceptionally impressed with this yarn. I've never seen it before up until 2 weeks ago. I know, Mikey with the Red Heart has seen it all. I have not seen it all. This is a premium acrylic and it is affordable and it is truly stunning, exceptionally soft, and because it's so soft, I guess that's why it's been geared for baby. The colors are really vibrant. I'm hoping they're gonna come out for you on camera. Is something that you should be looking for because it is truly amazing. So today's heart, you can use this for different concepts. You can either make 2 of them and fill them up with some potpourri. You can put some stuffing. You can put 2 together and put them as a Christmas ornament hanging from the tree. You can apply these to clothing, to hats, whatever you need. The size of the hook generates the size of your heart. So the larger the hook, the bigger the heart. And this here I've used a size F, a 3.75 millimeter crochet hook today with the Baby Soft Steps. This yarn is normally like a typical Super Saver. It's 5.5 millimeter size I crochet hook, but I just reduced my hook so that my heart would be a lot more tighter. So let's begin today's tutorial. You're gonna have a lot of fun and be able to be creative at the same time. So off camera the pattern is ready. I'm watching it and I'm just creating a slip knot right now. I just wrapped it around my finger twice, back of my hand, forward, take the back over the forward, not right over top, but now grab the new back one and put that up over your finger like this, and then just insert your hook. So just don't make sure that you over tighten it onto your hook. So according to the instructions we need to chain 17. This here does not count as 1. So let's begin. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Now this doesn't really look like the heart, does it? And that's because this is the foundation of the very interior of the heart, and eventually it'll have a shape like so. So let's begin, and we're gonna move on to round number 1 first. So in round number 1 there's a lot of steps here, and if you break it down and just go piece by piece, it's actually very simple. This whole heart is very simple in retrospect. So what we have here is round number 1. Let's just start off. We're gonna do 3 single crochets, second chain from the hook. So let's begin with that. So 1 and 2 go to the second, and we want to do 3 single crochets into that one there. So it's just all into the same, and I will give you a hint. This is the top of the one of the heart sides. So here we go. Let's look at the pattern again. Single crochet into the next 6 chains. So going into the next 6 we want to single crochet again. So 1, next chain for 2, next chain for 3, and we have 4. We have 5, and we have 6. So now it says to skip 2 chains and then single crochet into the next chain. So we're gonna skip 2. So the next 2 we're gonna go right over top and go to the third one and go for 6 single crochets in a row. And by doing that you're skipping, so therefore it's gonna pull up into a V shape by doing so. So we got 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5, and 6. And if you've done it right, the 6th one here, there should only be 1 left, which there is. And so in the final one here, what we have is going to be 3 single crochets into the next chain. So this is the final chain on the outside, and there's gonna be 3. And that's kind of how we started, isn't it? So this is the top of the other side of the heart. So now we have to come around, and this is exactly, remember what I just said, you're gonna have a V shape. Here is your V, just like this. Okay, I'm not worrying about this little piece that's hanging out right at this time, because that's gonna get hidden in the next round anyway. So what we wanna do now is that we wanna continue the instructions, and normally what we would do is just go back and forth, but in this case what we're gonna do is turn it over. So we're now going to work down the opposite side of the chain. So let's begin to do that. And it says continue to work on the along the underside of the chain, which is what I've just said, and single crochet into the next 6 chains. So we're just going to immediately see how this is where you have your 3 in here, so the next one available, and there will only be 1 stitch available, or 1 string. This is your loose end, so put it down on the top so you can trap it underneath so you'll never see it, and we want to do 6. So 6 in a row, so single crochet into each. So that was 2. We have 3. We have 4 and 5 and 6. And this is perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna let this straggler now go. It's trapped in enough. We're now at the space where you've jumped over. You remember how you had to jump over the 2? Here it is here. And what we want to do here is we're gonna come right into that space, single crochet, chain 2, 1 and 2, coming back into the same space for another single crochet, just like so. Now according to our instructions, we want to then single crochet into the next 6 chains and then place a stitch marker, a place marker. So the next 6 will be your single crochet, and when we finish this we are going to be once all the way around, and therefore round number 1 will be done. So that was 2 and 3 and then 4 and 5 and 6. So I'm going to place this stitch marker when we come back, and here is the very center of your heart, and it looks fabulous at this point. So we're going to be filling out in the interior. We're going to be getting smaller and smaller to form that perfect heart shape, and the outside is going to get fatter and thicker so that it forms the shape just right. So let's come back to round number 2, and we are going to start in just a second or two. In the last instruction it said to place this stitch marker, and we need to indicate where we're stopping and starting. This is really important. So what I want you to do is just pull up a loop and come into the stitch that is right where the strings are coming out of, and just grab another string, and this is just showing you where you need to stop at every round, because you will get confused what is your first and last stop. So what we want to do is just kind of put a stitch marker there. So if you have yarn you can do that. If you have a stitch marker you can use those. And so let's begin round number 2 next. In round number 2 it says INC, which is increase in the next 3 single crochets, and then etc, etc. So let's begin to break this down again. If you look at the top of the instructions, it says special abbreviation INC, which is increase, equals 2 single crochets into the next single crochet. So when round 2 says increase into the next 3 single crochets, it means that you have to do 2 single crochets into each of the next. So we're not going to be building up or creating a chain to build up in the round. We are just going to immediately start, and we just immediately come into the first one. So when you're on the outside you will see 1, 2 and 3, which is inside of the circle here, and that will give you an indication of where those are. So each one of those single crochets are going to have 2 single crochet in this round. Okay, so 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and 1 and 2. And it now says to single crochet into the next 5 single crochets. So let's do that. So we're going to just immediately go single crochet into the next 5. So that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So here's a tip. Do you see how it's bending up and we're coming down the one side of the heart? Let me take out my hook. So it's coming down the one side and we are right directly in the middle. There should always be 2 stitches that you will leave empty right in the middle, and they should be right at the middle. So you can always tell if you're screwing up at any point, if you're not following, if you're ending up down right at the bottom. So we're going to skip over the next 2 single crochets and then single crochet into the next 5. So we're going to skip over the middle 2, 1, 2, and go up the other side. 1. Okay, we're single crochet into the next 5. That is 2 and 3, 4 and 5. just like so. So there's where we are so far, and you can tell the green is the stopping and starting of the round, so you can tell we're almost halfway around at this point. We're now about to go around the outside of the top of the other side. So remember, there will be 3 in this one as well, because that's what we did on the other side. So what is happening on one side is happening on the other, and so the next 3 stitches will be 2 single crochets into each. So this is 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and 1 and 2. So that's what we have so far, and now we want to continue down to the base of the heart. So when we're looking at that, we need to go 6 or 7. So now what we need to do is that we need to come along the line here, and it should be 7. So it'll be 7 single crochets. So let's do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I will give you another tip. So the next one here is the gapping space, and so you can just count that, or you can just work yourself to the gapping space. If you're confident enough in your stitch work, you can actually do it without really counting. So the middle one here, this is the gapping space of the chain 2. We are going to single crochet and just repeat what we've done in the last round. So single crochet, chain 2, single crochet into the same, and then following the instructions here. Coming up on the other side is that we will single crochet into the next 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 will take you all the way back to where you started, and if you're confident in your stitches, you can either count it or just trust your instinct. So just single crochet yourself all the way back to the stitch marker, and once we get there, we have then completed round number 2. And here you have it. So we're gonna go right into there, and what I want you to do now is that I want you to move that stitch marker up. So pull the loop up, move that stitch marker to the last one here, and that'll show you in the next round where you need to stop, and then pull everything tight, and here's what your heart looks like at this moment. So round 3, it says increase and then single crochet into the next single crochet 3 times. So let's begin, and we will just follow along. So it says to increase, so that means that there's gonna be 2. So we just immediately come to the first stitch, and we're gonna put 2 single crochets in there. So 1 and 2, and then it says to single crochet into the next. So we're just, the next one is gonna be by itself, so just 1 single crochet, and it says we have to repeat that 3 times. So that was 1. So we're gonna come into the next one, we're gonna do 2 single crochets, and then 1 by itself in the next one. And so that was repeating it twice. We need to repeat it 3 times. So the next one is an increase, so it's 2, and then the next one is by itself. So that is repeating it 3 times, and you can see you've gone all the way around the top of the heart. And now what we want to do is says single crochet into the next 4 single crochets. So this area here is getting smaller as we're catching up, as we're building up this. So there will only be 4 stitches here between this point and where we need to skip over. So that was 1, so 2, 3, and 4. Remember what I told you about the tip? So you can see this is the center point. You can see the 2 right in the center. So if you're confident in your stitches, you're immediately just going to jump over that as per the instructions. So it says skip over the next 2 single crochets, which are right in the center, and then a single crochet into the next 5. So we're just going to immediately just skip over the 2 and just single crochet up the other side for 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So remember what we did on the other side? We did the increase, a single crochet by itself, increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet. So that we have to do that on this side as well. So once we get our 5 in here, where the next one is going to be an increase, so it's 2 single crochets by itself. The next one is single by itself. So we have an increase, so there's going to be 2 in this one. And then the next one is going to be by itself. And we have to increase one more time. So there will be 2 in this next one. And the next one is by itself. So now we're about to come down the base of the heart. So what we have to do here is that you can look at this and really kind of determine how you need to do it. And it says single crochet into the next 7, and so there will be 7 here between the center point. So you can either just count it out, so it's counted out. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, and then 6 and 7, which is perfect. So we're right at the center point again, and we're on the underside, and so we have to really then concentrate coming down, and the stitch marker is showing us where we're gonna finish. But here's what I want to show you. This stitch right here counts as one of the ones that are coming to the end. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So what happens here is that once I put this middle one in here with the corner, it tends to bury that stitch, and so you just immediately jump to the next one that you can actually see. So you have to pay attention that you actually are aware of where you're crocheting. So we're gonna single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet into this gapping space. So immediately you would think, oh, because of the way I've done it, you can obviously see it, but you would think, oh, I'm gonna jump here and work your way down, but you're gonna run out of stitch. You have to make sure you grab that first one that appears to be right underneath. So we have 1, and then 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8 should be right on the stitch marker, just like so. So we're gonna pull up on there and move that stitch marker line up, and this is very much like the stars. Like if you are ever done a crochet star before, is that where that one stitch is kind of hidden is an important one, because then your stars end up growing at a different angle than they should. So here's where our heart is on round number 3. We have 2 more rounds still to go. So let's start round number 4. It says single crochet into the next single crochet, increase, single crochet into the next 2 single crochets. So let me just start you here. So the first one is a single crochet by itself, and then we're gonna start the repeat pattern. So the repeat pattern is increase. So then this one will be 2, 1 and 2, and then it's telling us that the next 2 single crochets are gonna be by itself. So single crochet, single crochet, and we have to repeat that 3 times. So that was one of the 3. So let's repeat that. So we're going to do an increase, so there'll be 2 here, and then the next 2 are by themselves, or the next 1 single crochet are by themselves in the next 2. So that was 2, and now let's do an increase again. So this is 1 and 2, and then the next 2 are by themselves, just like so. So now it says to single crochet into the next 2 single crochets. So that makes sense, right? So you have 1 and 2, and then you have your center point. So that's right. So that makes sense. 1 and 2, and like before, we're gonna skip over the 2 middle ones, so 1 and 2, and then we're gonna move on to the next here, and it says single crochet into the next 4. So the next 4 are gonna be single crochet 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And just like we did on the other side, we got to come around the top of the heart, and we've got to do the exact same thing. So the next one is going to be an increase, so 1 and 2 into the same one. The next 2 stitches are by themselves, so increase, or sorry, 1 by itself, and the next one is by itself as well. We're going to do another increase, so this is 1 and 2. Okay, and the next 2 are by themselves. Okay, and then increase again. This is the last time. So we've increased a total of 3 times going around the top here, and then the next 2 are by themselves. 1 and 2, just like so. So now we're going to come down through the bottom just like this, and it says to single crochet into the next 8, and so this will take you all the way to the base, or to the point of the bottom of the heart. So 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And here we are at the center point again, just like this is the chain 2 gap right in the middle. So we're going to single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and according to the instructions on the other side, there will be 9 crochets coming up this side. Don't forget what my advice was. Don't forget this first one that appears to be underneath this. And so here is your 9. So 1 and we're going to come up the other side. This is 3, this is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the stitch marker is your 9. So that means that it's right again. And let's move the stitch marker up one more time. We do have one more round as per the pattern, and this is almost done at this point. So here's where we are on round number 4. Round number 5 is really easy at this point. So single crochet into the next 2 single crochets. So the next 2 are going to be by themselves. So 1 and 2, and now we're going to start doing the increasings. So the increase now is increase and then single crochet into the next 3, and we need to repeat that 3 times. So the next one is going to be an increase, so there will be 1 and 2, and then single crochet 3 times. So 1, 2, and 3. And here is your next increase, so this one will be 1 and 2 together. And then this one, the next 3 are by themselves, so 1 and 2 and 3. And here is your final increase on this side. So we have 1 and 2. And then when we come down, we're going to do our 3, and this will take you to the center point. Not the center point, but just to the point where you're going to have your 2 skipping right in the center. So you see your 2 is right here. We immediately just skip over to the other side. So 1 and 2 and come up the other side. And we're going to single crochet into the 3 or 3 times. So 1, and so the next one is going to be 2 and 3. And now we start doing the increase again on the other side. So the increase is 2 together here, 1 and 2, and then 3 single crochets by themselves. So 1, 2, and 3, and then increase again. So this is 1 and 2, okay, and then 3 by themselves, and then increase the last time. So 1 and 2, and then basically you're gonna just go all the way to the end point. So you can either count it out, and to be consistent with this one you have to do your 3 right after it before the stitch counts match back up. So we have to do our 1, 2, and 3, and now your stitch work should equal up back to the pattern, and it says to single crochet 9 times, so there should be 9 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Will you look at that? Got that right as well. We're back at the center point, so again we're just single crocheting into the chain 2 space, chain 2 again, and then single crochet back in, and then we need to crochet up to the other side, so there'll be 10 stitches, and so immediately just start single crocheting back to the stitch marker at this point, coming back up, and this is the final revolution as per the pattern. And I'm going to show you something else after this pattern. If you want to do something a little bit more with this, I'm going to show you how to put a border around this if you really want to make your heart stand out, if you're doing this for an applique or for whatever project that you're doing. So what I want you to do is you come back all the way to where the stitch marker is, like so, and essentially just pull that through. So on the last one, just pull through, and we want to grab our scissors, and I'm just leaving enough on there so I can do a really nice fine finishing, and I'm just going to pull up like so, and I'm going to pull this tight, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to finish this so that you have like the perfect heart going on in your pattern. Chances are this will be an applique, so you're going to want to really take care of this of the fine edge. So you're going to determine what is your good side, what is your bad side. I'm just going to trim that later, but this is going to classify as my bad side. So what I want to do is that I want to take my yarn and put it on a darning needle and just slip it underneath the stitches, and I want to go to about 1 inch or 2 underneath, just down the sides of the stitches like so. Pull it through, and I want to stretch it back out and then I want to go back in the direction I just came. I want to come out into a different spot, so it kind of traps it. Come back in the other direction, stretch it out, and then go back into the direction I just came from again one last time, and this will trap it so that you don't have to worry about it, especially if you're going to put this on kids' clothes, is that you don't need to worry about a kid pulling it apart because you will never see it. So we can now safely just trim our ends out. And so your heart would be then ready if you want to use it as is. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to apply a border to this. So if this is something that you're interested in, just stay tuned and I'll be right back. So right now we're gonna restart, and I'm gonna show you how to do a three-dimensional border so that this really does a popping effect. So what I want you to do is that I want you to just start off on one of the bottom sides. It doesn't really matter at this point. And I want you to grab white string or whatever you want to use and just form a loop. I don't want you to do any kind of slip knots onto this because I don't want to see it afterward. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna look at the edge, and there will be two stitches that you can see, or two lines. I want you to go into the back loop only. So there's two loops, go into the back. So I'm looking at it from the good side, just so you're aware of that. And I want to come into the back side, to the back loop, and just grab the loop of the white and pull through, like so. So I'm just gonna put everything in here. So I'm just gonna chain up one first, and then I'm immediately gonna come into the next back loop and single crochet, next back loop. And what I want you to do is that I want you to go into each back loop all the way around except for the very center point. I want you to skip over the two that you did when you've been doing this project right as you're doing it, so that it keeps its look consistent too, so you don't misshape it. So by doing this you're making the heart have like a nice border edge of stitching, and you can see I'm trapping in the loose end at this point so that you'll never see it as well. And simply it's a great way to align your heart to give it some kind of function depending on what it's sitting on. It's a great applique idea as well. And so just go all the way around and meet you back up in just a moment where we'll finish this off and call this video quits for today. So just a quick reminder, the middle two, you are going to skip over those two stitches. So we're just gonna come and just skip over those and go to the back loop of the third one over, and this will help bring it, tie everything together without misshaping the very center of your heart, because all that work and then you just misshape it, it's not really worth the time. So it's so continue to do that. We'll meet back up. I'll show you how to fasten off, and we will clean off our edges and have the perfect finishing technique so that you can have this for whatever you wish it to be. I'm just coming around to the base at this point, and I still want to do the back loops on the base here. And remember, we have our chain 2. You're just simply going to go into the back loops of the chains that exist there in order to keep it shaped and going perfectly around. So don't skip over that. If you rush the process, you'll lose your point at the bottom. So we're coming all the way back around to where we started. No biggie. And we have here, so obviously the next stitch is where we started. So I want to slip stitch into the back loop only, and I want to pull everything through. So I'm gonna just grab my yarn and my scissors and cut. And like before, I just want to pull up onto this here. This is the straggler. I'm gonna pull tight on here, and what I want to do now is that I want to put my yarn back into a darning needle, and just like I finished off the pink, I want to do the same with the white. So we're just gonna simply just slip in our stitches, slip in the darning needle behind the stitches so that it traps it into position permanently. So I go in the direction from which I came, so I'm just gonna go underneath the stitches and only go into the white. And because it's the same color, it'll get buried underneath. I'd also recommend a Susan Bates steel darning needle. I find them a lot better. It's the point here that's not as sharp as it should be, and this is from another kit, and I would not recommend this particular needle. Okay, and then coming back. So I just want to kind of just clean up the edges and then finally go back in the same direction from which I came. So you want to do that a total of 3 times. Just like this, underneath. Just like so, pull everything nice and tight. And then just grab your scissors and cut. And cut the other string. Come to the back and everything is done there. So here's now the back of your heart, so you can sew that onto anything that you wish. And here is the front of your heart that looks three-dimensional, that has a really good look to it. Until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd. We'll see you next time for another fabulous idea. Bye bye now.